911, what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency?
Be advised, Car 4 has control of the pursuit. Proceed with caution.
Hey everybody, how are you all? It's so good to see you. It's been a minute. It has been a minute. I hope everybody's doing well tonight. That's weird. Sorry guys, my headphones are hanging. I just realized. Hold on. Sorry. I never noticed that before tonight. I just want to fix it. There we go. Okay. But anyway, it's good to be here with all of you. Hey, Tech Death, how are you, my dear? It's good to see you. Thank you for being here. Hey, Purdue, how are you? Thank you so much for treating my dear friend Steve and Ruckus so well this past week. I am so glad that they have you there in Indiana, that you're so close. You're so wonderful and accommodating to Steve every time he's in town. And I truly and absolutely appreciate you and appreciate what you do for him. And I just wanted to give you a shout out for that because I'm just thrilled about it. And I can't wait to meet you. And I have all intentions of getting to Delphi this fall. So when I'm there, I'm going to definitely look you and Deb up. We have to do dinner or lunch or something. So let's see. Hey, Beach Fairy, how are you? Good to see you. It has been a minute, indeed. Hey, Sees Through All, how are you? Good to see you. Hey, Jill, how are you? Thank you for being here. Hi, Shane. Good to see you. Thanks for coming. Hey, GP. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, the phone app doesn't work well. What I do a lot of times, Beach Fairy, is when I want to be in a chat, I actually, if I'm home, I actually you do YouTube on my TV, and then I use the app to chat with. And you're right, it absolutely is not. I so much prefer to be on my laptop, for sure. Hey, Gail, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Hey, Boston. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hey, Danger Dave, how are you? Hope you're well. Hi, Lynn GMB. Welcome, welcome. Yes, Purdue, we can see you in chat. Definitely can see you. Let's see. I love the intro music. Tech Death does such a wonderful job. And like I said before, I could listen to him all day. He is so amazing. Hey, Kamala, how are you? Good to see you. Yeah, we're going to talk about Carlee Russell tonight. Okay, let's see. Yes, Purdue, I'm going to look forward to my visit as well. I want to get to Delphi and to Flora. So hopefully that will all work out this fall. I am, Beach Fairy. I'm really good. I did enjoy my time away. I know that it seems like, I'm taking days here and there, but I just have to. And I will be taking some more time in August away from the channel. So I'm going to actually probably record some live streams that I can actually have drop during that week or so that I think I'm not going to be here. And so again, just more family time and vacation. So yeah, looking forward to it. I'm so looking forward to some time away from the city and all of everything. Just no cell phones, that kind of thing. Just kind of relax, kick back, do some diamond painting, and just commune with nature. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Purdue. You're always so nice. Thank you so much. Okay, let's see. Oh, Boston, it's always so good to have you here. Thank you so much. Ruckus, hello, my dear. How are you? Welcome back. We have missed you. 8 days without Ruckus is just not acceptable. Not acceptable at all. But you were amazing. You guys did such a fabulous job, you and Steve, over in Evansdale. I have a whole different outlook on that case now after being able to see firsthand the crime scene as well as the abduction site. And yeah, it's I really, really appreciate it, and I'm glad that you got to take care of our national treasure. But I also hear that you are national treasure number 2, and I would not argue with that at all. So I'm really glad you're here tonight. Thank you. I'm going to have to get with you and Steve because I do want to have you both on the show so that we can talk about Evansdale and Flora. So I'm looking forward to that. Oh, Shane, that's just terrible. It's terrible. So I can say a lot about this whole situation tonight. I had a long conversation with a very dear friend today about the community and about the whole Delphi community and how they behave. Let's see. Oh yeah, Gail, for sure. And I was definitely getting burnout. It was definitely starting to affect me. And I knew it, recognized it right away. And I was like, yeah, so I have to be able to take the breaks. Hi, Stephanie. How are you? Good to see you. Yeah, that's what I hear, Danger Dave, that Ruckus was breaking things. But I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in their car listening to the two of them banter back and forth. It sounds like they had I think they had a really good time, even though there might have been a couple of times that Ruckus might have overstepped. Hey, Phil Bond. Good to see you. Excuse me. You don't think Steve would agree with me? Probably not. Probably not. Doggone it. I think there's a fruit fly loose in my house. It's flying around my face. Hey, Melissa. You're very welcome, Melissa. Very welcome. Yes, he does. Ruckus does rock. And, what's so amazing is to listen to Steve talk about him. I was up late last night and I was listening to Steve's Morning Watch show, and he was talking about how, Ruckus met 3 victim families the past 8 days, and they all accepted him and, and saw the goodness in him. And I think that speaks a lot to who he really is. He comes across as this tough guy, and, and he probably is tough, but I think that there's a soft side to him as well, a very compassionate one. Oh, Shane, trust me. Yeah, it's gotten really low as of late. I hear you. Yeah, Dave, I am so over the drama. I can't even begin to tell you. Totally, absolutely. Let's see. Ruckus says, I respect and admire Steve even more now that I got to spend time with him. He's a brilliant and kind man. Isn't he, though? Even though I haven't met him and I haven't got to spend that quality time with him, just by how he has been to me as a creator, and how he stepped up when I was in intensive care last fall and offered to, cover my show for me. I mean, no other creator on YouTube did that. And he barely knew me. And he was just amazing. He's been amazing ever since. I just feel like this guy could really do a lot for cold cases. And I think the two of you together is an amazing team. So I'm really, really anxious and feel blessed that we have the two of you looking over these cases and working these cold cases, because I think we could see some movement because of the two of you. Oh, Melissa, that's great. I hope they arrive safely and you get to spend some quality time with them. Let's see. Yeah, it's sad. The drama that's in this community, it's actually gone from being, I have to say this because this is how I really see it. And I've seen it this way for a long time as a creator, is that the drama that's around these cases in this community, these people have made this case about them, and it's not about Abby and Libby. And they don't treat it like it's about Abby and Libby. And I don't know if they want their 15 minutes of fame, if that's why they do this and why the drama continues. We have an arrest now. We have a case that's being built to go into court to try this man, Richard Allen, for 2 counts of murder. And people are just acting like they don't have a brain in their head. So, hello, Colette Henson. How are you? Good to see you. Let's see. I'm just one. Hey, Aries Dawn. Welcome, welcome. And just making sure. Hey, Indy Pam. Good. I'm on Discord. I'm on my own Discord, and that's enough. We don't have drama on my Discord. Nobody talks on my Discord. So we don't have, because they know that there's no drama here. And isn't that amazing? I've had a Discord for over a year, and it's amazing. Nobody talks there. It's funny. I find it hilarious because I remember when I was in Discord and all the drama that was going on there. I'm so glad I don't have to deal with that, because my personal makeup as an emotional person couldn't handle that every day, all day long. It just couldn't. And let's see. Hi, Tawny Lee. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Ruckus. There are a lot of good people in the community, and those bad apples that want to spoil it for everyone else, it really just upsets me, because it takes away from Abby and Libby. It takes away from all the cases that we cover when they make it about themselves. Let's see. Hey, CJK, how are you? So good to see you. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Okay. Oh, Indy Pam, thank you so much. Thank you, Tawny Lee. I'm so glad to have you. So glad to have you here. So we are going to talk tonight about, well, first of all, I'm sure you guys have all heard of the recent update in the Richard Allen case that Judge Fran Gull, had a motion that she actually ruled on this week. Hold on one second. And she ordered Richard Allen to remain at Westville Correctional Prison in northern Indiana. She said on Wednesday that he's being treated better than than other inmates. And so she denied the request from his attorneys to relocate him from the Indiana Department of Corrections because of what they said was his deteriorating health and his poor living conditions at the prison. And he's been housed there since November of 2022. His lawyers argued, among other things, that Richard Allen sleeps on a pad on a concrete floor, that he must wear the same clothes, including his underwear, for days that are soiled, stained, tattered, and torn, that he has had no chance to visit with his wife or any of his other family members in the past 5 months. His attorneys described his living conditions as akin to those of a prisoner of war. And when I heard that, even when they first said it, it just angered me to describe him as a prisoner of war. He doesn't even come close to a prisoner of war. And to me, that badmouths the men and women in our armed forces who have been prisoners of war. The judge ruled that, without going into any real specifics, that the evidence presented demonstrated that the defendant is treated more favorably than other inmates housed at the Westville Correctional Facility. So he is going to remain there until his trial. And did it surprise me? Yes, it did surprise me that was her decision. But I do glean something from that. One of the things that I find quite interesting about it is that she's not buying into the narrative that the defense is trying to paint of Richard Allen being in this horrible mental state because of his incarceration, and that he needs to be moved and all of that. Now, is that something that maybe how do I want to say presents a problem later on? Well, it's always something that you question about being overturned on appeal. But she took her time in making the decision, which is one of the things that I really respect about her and how she's been handling this case so far. She doesn't just quickly make decisions. She looks over case law and really thinks about them a little bit before she just utters a decision. And I truly and absolutely believe that she will be good for this case and that she's going to keep it on the right track. So, yeah. Now, one of the things that I really started to think about after she made the decision was what impact, if any, is this going to have on where the defense is going to go with the case? Because we obviously know that there's been some confessions, there's been some interesting happenings since that all came out. His wife has sold the house. He is refusing as we know of from the warden, to see his family. He was given opportunity. He has not. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens from here on in. Are we going to really make it to trial? Is there going to really be a trial in this case? If you guys remember, I had Skip Jansen, the captain from True Crime Garage, and Fig Solves on my show about a month ago. And we were talking about some of this stuff. And it was so interesting because the captain said that he was feeling stronger than ever that this case might not reach trial. And I didn't know. Hey Rose, good to see you, my dear. How are you? It's so good to see you. And so yeah, I'm really beginning to think that it's very possible that this case won't make it to trial. But yeah, it will be interesting to see. And like I said, that's the updates that we have on Delphi. And the conversation that I had today with a very good friend of mine on the Delphi community situation and stuff, you know, we're all, you know, we have as creators content that we have to come up with so that we can either do videos or do our live streams or whatever when it comes to our channels. And rather than beat dead horses, I have always felt like I needed to bring something to the table to you guys when I was doing a live stream and keep it factual. I've done a lot of teaching over the last year and a half on my channel about our judicial system, how the court system works, how the grand jury works, especially in Indiana. And I think one of the things that we've seen because of the Long Island serial killer case that has just been solved and someone in custody for that crime, we can look at that case in so many respects of Delphi and how they utilized the grand jury in that case to get an indictment. And I always felt like there was going to be a grand jury seated in the Delphi case. I was actually kind of surprised that there wasn't. But it's really interesting to see, you know, Melissa Maria is very, very busy in her own personal life right now, and she is taking a break from everything true crime. So she's just super busy in her own personal life. So that's where she's been. She's well and good. I talk to her all the time. And yeah, she's just busy. Summer is a really busy time for her. She has 6 dogs. She has a lot to do with them, especially in the summertime, because they spend a lot of time outside and lots of acres to deal with and things like that. So she is a busy, busy, busy lady. Let's see. So now, but anyway, with that being said, where I was going with that was within the Delphi community, I saw I saw some more new names popping up with Delphi content. And I stopped the other night to watch one, and I couldn't believe, but they were actually going back down the road of the family is somehow involved and the family has lied and told untruths. And I am just over it, you guys. I am so over this. I don't know. I am just, yeah. I'm just over it. I'm so tired of it, and, I just don't get it. I really just don't get it, but anyway, with that being said, um, it's gonna be really interesting to see, like I said, where the case goes from here, and I, for one, will continue to cover it just as I always have, with the facts. It's okay to, to speculate, but we now have someone in custody, and we need to pay attention to that. I don't wanna taint a jury. I don't want people that may be watching my little tiny true crime channel that may end up being called as a juror, be swayed because something I said that may or may not have any validity to it. Because bottom line, you guys, no matter what case it is that we're talking about here, ever, we don't know 100% anything. We don't have all the facts of this case. It's hard to make a total and absolute determination about a case when you don't know all the facts. I mean, how do you even possibly do that? Investigators don't do that. And of course, if you remember, I always go back to Doug Carter because I really think that when he said it, it made so much sense, and he said it so easily, blatantly. It was perfect. If you think something, it doesn't make it factual. You have to have evidence to back it up. You have to be able to go into a court of law and present it to a jury with facts and evidence. So what investigators believe doesn't matter. What investigators think doesn't matter. It's just, it's, I really do think in some instances it's all about egos, and it's all about likes and clicks, and so building their YouTube channel, and they're doing it on the backs of Abby and Libby, and it's just wrong. It's just wrong. So, yeah, I've told you guys before, we've had these discussions before. Pick and choose who you listen to. Make sure that you're not listening to the drama and being part of it, facilitating it continuing, because it's just wrong. That's not what we should be doing in our true crime community. I've said so much that if we could put our heads together as creators and a community, there's so much good that we could do out there. So much good. If you guys remember, I covered the case of Lauren Lee Malloy's mother, a couple 3 months ago. And she is very, very active on Twitter for trying to get her mother's case relooked at and solved, basically. And anyway, she posts some really interesting information, and I always try to go back and listen to what she has to say. But if you guys haven't, you should check her out. Her mom was murdered 30 years ago, and it's a really sad case, and she's never stopped bringing awareness to her mother's case and working diligently to get people to share her story and to just basically keep the light on and focus on things. There are so many families out there that need that and need that light to focus down on their loved one that nobody's paying attention to and that law enforcement isn't, following or whatever. So she's really a good person to follow on Twitter. But anyway, one of the things that I thought was very, very interesting that she brought up, and another creator actually on either TikTok or Twitter brought up, was this whole thing that has been going on about Carlee Russell. And I'm going to go into that case right now because I have to tell you guys, I was absolutely flabbergasted when I heard the story originally. I didn't believe it. I will tell you right now, right off the bat, I didn't believe this story. I did not believe this story that this woman was driving down the interstate in Alabama late at night and saw this toddler walking along the edge of the road in just a diaper and a t-shirt with no shoes. I just didn't believe it. I thought it sounded extremely far-fetched. I was like, what the heck? And then when you see the video tape of it, and I watched that, I'm like, there weren't any other cars that were slowing down and taking notice. And if there was a toddler, a white male toddler walking on the shoulder of a busy interstate, I can't imagine that people wouldn't stop or be slowing down to figure out what in the heck was going on. So that bothered me right off the bat. And now we have law enforcement coming out saying that there's no evidence there ever was a toddler on the interstate, and that she had some very red flag type of searches on her cell phone as well as computers. And I am just appalled, actually, at this point in time. I know people want answers and they want to know what's real and what's not. For those of you that are not aware of what happened, Carlee Russell called a 911 dispatcher on July 13th and told them that around 9:24, I think, p.m., she told them that she saw this 3 to 4-year-old toddler in a diaper walking along the side of Interstate 459, which I believe is south of Birmingham, Alabama, or near Birmingham, Alabama. And she told them that, she was following him closely. And the woman, the dispatcher said, well, don't lose him. Don't leave him, whatever. I've got law enforcement on the way. She also called a relative. Okay. She called her brother's girlfriend, and abruptly she stopped talking to them, but the line remained open. It didn't go dead. And she returned home at around 10:45 p.m. on July 15th, was taken to a local hospital where she was released rather quickly. And police have repeatedly now said in multiple press conferences that there's no evidence that there was a toddler on the interstate. They had no missing person report of a toddler. There was no Amber Alert. There was nothing. And that was kind of like, well, what the heck is going on here? Why would this woman make something up like this? What is the reason behind that? Well, going back a little bit in the story, she left work and was on surveillance camera and was seen taking a roll of toilet paper and a bathrobe from the hotel or motel or whatever where it was she worked. And they saw her take this stuff and put it in her car. She drove and got some food, and then she stopped at a Target and got some snacks. Her car is found alongside the interstate. Police arrive like within 3 to 4 minutes of the phone call to 911. So really rapid response here. Majorly rapid response. And when they arrive, there's no sign of her. Carlee's car is running. The lights are on. The driver's side door is wide open. Her purse, her cell phone, all of that is there with the car. The only thing missing from the car is the snacks that she stopped and bought at Target. The food that she had stopped to get was still there. It is absolutely bizarre. So, police were dumbfounded. They didn't know what to think. Russell told police in an initial interview that a man came out of the tree line to check on the toddler and instead picked her up and made her go over a nearby fence. She said she was forced into his car, and the last thing that she recalled was being inside of an 18-wheeler trailer. She could hear a female voice, and this man had orange hair with a bald spot on the back of his head. She told police she was able to escape this truck and that she fled on foot, was captured again, and placed into a car. She claimed she was blindfolded, but they didn't tie her up because the captors didn't want to leave any marks on her wrists. She then told police that these individuals took her to some house and forced her to get undressed, and she believes that pictures were taken of her. And when I heard the story, I thought, man, it sounds like sex trafficking or, human trafficking. But then none of the rest of the story makes any sense. The following day, according to Russell's conversation with police, was she woke up and was fed cheese crackers by this female. Cheese crackers happens to be one of the snacks that she bought at Target, just so you know. She said the woman also played with her hair, but could not remember anything else. The Hoover, Alabama police chief, Nick Durses, I think his name is pronounced, said of the interview with Russell that at some point she was put back in a vehicle, she claims, was able to escape while it was in the West Hoover area and ran through a whole bunch of woods that came out near her own residence. She had $107 worth of cash on her, and it was in her right sock. And detectives noticed that she still had that money on her when they interviewed her. The police chief said during the press conference that the data from Russell's phone through her Life 360 app shows that she traveled 600 yards while on the phone with 911 claiming to be following a toddler. 600 yards, you guys, that's 6 football fields, almost. Can you believe that? There's no way a toddler could go that far in the dark dead of night with no shoes on the side of the road and not be seen by somebody or not. I mean, it's just, wow. Wow, Cynthia. That's crazy. Cynthia says that, and thank you so much for your super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Wednesday, police found 2-year-old toddler on the side of the road in California, Highway 65 at 8:30 p.m. Wow. Wow. Oh, yeah. And her wig was also left in the car. Her wig was left in the car. That's a long, 600 yards for a toddler is a long way on a very busy interstate in the middle of the dark. I'm sorry. I just don't see one walking that way and that far and not walking out into traffic. I just know better. I've been around enough 3 and 4-year-olds. I just can't see it. So, but yeah. Hey, Deb, how are you? So good to see you, my dear. Thank you for being here. So she was, like I said, accused of taking this dark colored bathrobe, a roll of toilet paper, and other items that belonged to her employer, the Woodhouse Spa, Birmingham, on July 13th at around 8:20 p.m. The police chief also said she searched, "Do you have to pay for an Amber Alert?" on July the 11th at 7:30 a.m. So 2 days before she went missing. On July 13th at 1:03 a.m., she searched how to take money from a register without being caught. She also searched the movie Taken on July 13th at 12:10 p.m. For those of you that don't know, Taken is a movie about a retired CIA agent who travels around Europe to save his daughter who has been kidnapped while on a trip to Paris. The police chief said it's highly unusual for someone who gets kidnapped to have searched for the movie Taken hours before. At 2:35 a.m. on July 13th, she searched for a one-way bus ticket from Birmingham to Nashville, with the departure date being July 13th. And she also allegedly used a work computer to search for the maximum age of an Amber Alert. I just find all of those things to be highly suspect, and I don't buy any of this story. I just don't. And what's so sad is that I listened to law enforcement, press conference, which I thought was very in-depth, say that they had the U.S. Marshals, they had the Secret Service, which I thought was interesting. There were like 4 different branches of law enforcement federally that were assisting them in the Hoover Police Department in searching for this woman and this toddler. If this turns out to be true, that this is all just a made up crazy scheme of hers to either get away on a bus and go see somebody, somebody or whatever. I don't know. So many things rushed through my head. Yes, she has a boyfriend. Yes, she is a beautiful young woman, and she seemingly has a really strong presence on social media. Was she trying to build her social media presence by concocting this story and getting her name out there? Boy, did she ever do it, if that's what her intention was. Because a lot of times, you guys, they want the negative press is still good press. Negative publicity is still publicity. To some people, that's the way they see it. I just don't know. They're saying that she has had no history of mental illness. She was in nursing school. I just don't know. Um, eh, the boyfriend, Deb says her and her boyfriend had split up. So, was she going to was she trying to go somewhere to meet up with somebody else? I mean, I just I don't know. But to come up with this story of a toddler is mind-boggling to me. And why would anybody do that? That is just some really craziness. Um, I can't wait to see you guys. Oh, it'll be so much fun. So much fun. Um, so I don't know. I just wanted to put that out there. It's all over the news. It's all over the airwaves. And I figured that you guys would have seen it, heard about it, wondered what your thoughts were on it. I don't try to, make myself sound to be this super smart person or whatever, but I'm usually good at discerning or smelling BS, and I smelled BS right off the gate with this one. uh Seriously. He was worried about her, Deb. I saw an interview with him. He was worried about her. So, if that's what she was trying to do, then it worked, because he was truly, you could hear it in his voice that he was um concerned about her and that she had been through some horrible ordeal. And I think what's really sad is that she's not talking to law enforcement. They need to sit down and have another interview with her, but she's being protected right now by her family. And her parents are basically believing everything that she has said. So again, who knows why she would have done this or what's going on here, but hopefully they get to the bottom of it. I don't know if she had some sort of a breakdown that caused all this, but there's obvious reasons that she was trying to get somebody to pay attention, and that she was manipulating stuff, and the truth for sure. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So, CBS News is reporting, and I don't know if you guys have heard this or not, but CBS is reporting that investigators are looking into whether any of the Gilgo Beach murder victims may have been killed at the home of the perpetrator that he shared with his family. Just mind-boggling. On Saturday, I went over this case with you guys from the very beginning to where we are now. I covered all of the women, all of the victims, the 11 victims in this case, and we talked about each one of them. Rex Hewerman shares the Long Island house that he lived in with his wife and his 2 adult children. And they say that they were not home when any of these crimes were, murders were committed. But, obviously the investigation is still ongoing. They're still, getting evidence. They are still searching his house. From what I understand, he was a hoarder, or they were hoarders. The house is just in complete crazed disarray. They've also have located other properties that he owns. They've found storage units that they have to go through. There is just a ton of evidence that they have to weed through and wade through in this case right now. And I mean, they're still, like I said, they're still in the home itself a week after. So it just tells you how much stuff must be in there. They're basically going through it. I imagine that they're taking out walls and looking through, for hidden places in the walls and the floorboards and the ceilings, because we all know that these guys can do that. If they have a home life with a wife and children, they usually have a stash or a place somewhere where they keep all of their mementos and their trophies and their, information on the cases and things like that. And that's what they're looking for. And they have basically said that they're going through the house inch by inch to look for this evidence. 2 law enforcement sources told CBS tonight that the investigators are looking to determine if he is connected to other unsolved murder cases throughout the United States. Investigators in the Suffolk County area are currently coordinating with others in Atlantic City, New Jersey, to see if he may be linked to any unsolved killings that happened within their jurisdiction. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of jurisdictions that are going to be looking at some of their unsolved homicides and seeing if the MO or his pattern matches up with anything that they may have that's still open. Suffolk County officials have already executed several court-authorized search warrants elsewhere in the United States, including in Las Vegas and South Carolina, where Heuermann may have had ties. A Chevrolet Avalanche truck, which is believed to be connected to the suspect and which may have been used in at least one of the murders, was recovered in South Carolina and transported to the Suffolk County garage so that it can be gone over by the forensic teams. Investigators in the Long Island area are expected to probe this truck for possible evidence related to the crimes. And we know from just our own backgrounds that we've talked on this show, and Steve from True Crime Web has shared with us, there'll be luminol all over that truck to see if there is any blood evidence. They will be looking for any biological evidence or anything, hairs, fibers, anything that they might have. And what I think is super interesting is that his wife's hair were on the bodies of the 3 victims that he's been charged with. And I find that damning as heck, because how would that possibly have happened if it wasn't because he transferred it to them? His wife, we talked about her the other night, but her name is Asa Ellerup. She did file for divorce from her husband in the Suffolk County Supreme Court on Wednesday after 20 years of marriage to this man. And Heuermann's wife, per her attorneys, and said her and her 2 children were in the dark about his double life. They did not know anything about what this man was doing. His daughter worked with him in his office. From what I understand, his adult son is special needs in some way, and we're not sure what that way is. I saw an interview with one of his neighbors who interacted with his son a lot and said that he was a super, super nice kid, and that, yes, he was special needs. The attorney for his wife said she was told to leave the home with only the clothes on her back, and she's not been permitted to return because the investigators are continuing to search the residence. They took all the electronics in the home, including those belonging to her and her 2 adult children. They seized her car, which had been parked at the couple's Long Island home. Her passport was not seized, but she does not have access to it as it remains inside her house. And from what I understand, she she has family outside this country, and so she travels outside the country to visit them. As we well know, Heuermann is a 59-year-old architect who was charged last week with murdering 3 of the 11 victims of the Long Island serial killer. And they were Melissa Barthelemy, Amber Costello, and Megan Waterman. Their bodies were discovered within a quarter mile of one another in a section of Ocean Parkway, which is a highway that stretches across Jones Beach Island off the southern island, Long Island coast. These sets of remains were found along Gilgo Beach between 2010 and 2011. The remains were discovered while the authorities were searching for Shannon Gilbert, another woman who had disappeared and was later found deceased elsewhere in a coastal marsh. Police labeled the death an accidental drowning, but Gilbert's family has refuted this claim and firmly believes that she is a victim or fell victim to the Long Island serial killer. We don't know that at this point in time. Her case is very strange because, again, she was also on the phone with 911 running from someone and stated that someone was after her. Now, was she hallucinating? Was she on drugs of some kind? We don't know. At the time of Heuermann's indictment, prosecutors said he also was a suspect in the death of a 4th victim, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, and he has pleaded not guilty to the initial charges that were brought against him and is in custody right now under suicide watch, which attorneys say is completely normal. Law enforcement said so as well. Anyone who is high profile and has been charged with heinous crimes is automatically put under suicide watch, just like Richard Allen is under suicide watch. The Gilgo Beach killings and who was responsible for them was super notorious and a prolonged mystery, both inside and outside of New York, you guys. It was the focus of a 48 Hours in 2011, which looked at Gilbert's disappearance and how the subsequent search led to the discovery of the other remains. 48 Hours reports that aired over the next decade. The 2020 Netflix drama, The Lost Girls, is also based on the Gilgo Beach murders. Although authorities originally did not believe one killer was linked to all 10 sets of remains found along Gilgo Beach, they did acknowledge that the close proximity between some of these bodies pointed to a potential serial murderer. Heuermann lived for decades in this house. He grew up in it, just across from a bay where the remains were discovered. While probing the suspect's home since his arrest, police have been seen carrying various items from his property in boxes, with some containing firearms. They found a safe in the basement that had over 200 firearms in it. He had a permit for 90 of them. So something is frightening to know that this man had that kind of an arsenal of weaponry in his house. They found a doll, a large doll inside of a glass case. You can see that on a video of them carrying it out. And that seems to have bothered the press. And I'm like, well, you know, my daughter collected porcelain dolls growing up, and that simply could be the easiest answer to why there was a doll inside a glass case. Not saying it is. I'm just saying that could be it. But the media has jumped on that and thought that there was something really spooky about the fact that there was this large doll inside a glass case. They took a filing cabinet. They took all the computers tons of cell phones. And what I have found so interesting about this case compared to Delphi is all of the cell phone data that they had on this guy, and how cell phones are really playing a huge part in not only Delphi, but in this case, as well as the case in Idaho against Brian Koberger, because people are really funny because they think that they know more than law enforcement. So these people use burner phones thinking that they cannot be tracked or followed. And you know what's so funny about that is they were tracking his burner phones. So what we think we know about burner phones isn't true after all. I thought that was very interesting. So I'm not surprised that his wife has filed for divorce. I mean, who would want to stay married to anyone when you learn of this? I mean, wow, you know? But everybody did finally see her on Wednesday. Um, she was seen leaving somewhere with her adult children. I can't remember where they took the picture of her, but they did file the summons and the complaint, and they did it in Suffolk County. And she probably wants to get as far away from him in this story as she possibly can. The lawyer said that her and her children's lives have been completely turned upside down. Well, you can only imagine how that is. I mean, her daughter and her son, the son, are probably completely shocked that this man that they knew as dad has been charged with these crimes. And there's talk now that his brother in South Carolina is an odd person as well. So I don't know where that's going to go. But it says that on Thursday, he was arrested right outside of his home last Thursday, or out of his office in Manhattan. And at the time they were doing that, officers were arriving at the Massapequa Park home and informed his wife and adult children of the accusations against him. At that time, they told them that they would have to leave. They would have to take their belongings that were on their back and go. And their lawyers said they were completely blindsided by all of this. And so anyway, police are still there. They're still working this, and they're taking out evidence. There was a portrait on the wall of a battered woman with a black eye. This guy sounds to me like he was a sadist, and I'm going out there with that just by what I've been hearing about it, but he seemed to really enjoy inflicting pain on women. He has property in South Carolina, and that's where they got the two Avalanche pickup trucks, which are the same make that was identified as a suspect's vehicle in the disappearance of one of the victims years ago. But yeah, this case I think is going to get stranger before it's done, because I still am just flabbergasted with what we're learning already. But there was this task force created in 2021, in January of 2021, when the new police chief and the new police commissioner took over in the county. And they both vowed to make this case a priority. There was a task force years ago in this case, and for unknown reasons, it was disbanded. Well, I think we realize what the reasons are now. The police chief was corrupt, and he was trying to keep people out. He didn't want people to see what he was doing. So he didn't want a task force. He didn't want the FBI involved. He didn't want any of those things. And again, it goes to show what we've talked about before on this channel about law enforcement sometimes not wanting to bring in folks from the outside into their jurisdiction to help them with cases. But I think it screams red flags when that happens, because you should want to. You should want as much help as you can possibly get, especially when you're looking at the possibility of a serial killer active in your community. So they set up the task force, and within 15 months of the task force starting, a New York detective that was working the case identified Huerman through this avalanche, and they got a name. And they linked him to the crime scene with a witness statement in Costello's disappearance, who was able to describe him as well as describe the vehicle. And through phone records, they were able to follow him through these, like I said, through these burner phones and through this area. They had this unknown DNA on the crime victims, which turned out to be his wife's. And they were able to match the other unknown DNA to him once they got his DNA sample that was collected from the pizza box that he trashed in a New York City trash can. So remember, when you're out there throwing away your stuff, you guys, somebody could be watching you and taking it out of the garbage. So yeah, crazy. He was meeting sex workers on the internet through dating apps and lured them out. And then he would murder them and dump their bodies on this remote stretch of Ocean Parkway that's about 45 miles east of New York City. There is a young woman who was interviewed by News Nation. Law and Crime Network had her on, and a YouTuber had her on. She dated him. I don't know if you even call it a date, but she dated him once. She was an escort. They met on an app, and he contacted her, and she agreed to meet him for dinner. And it had to be in public. He wanted at first to meet her somewhere else, and she said no. She didn't feel comfortable with that. She never met anyone that wasn't in a public place for her own safety. And so, sorry, I got something making my eye burn. So I'm really sorry. I don't know if it's I don't know what's going on with my eye, but it's bothering me. Let me grab a tissue. But anyway, she says that they met at the restaurant and everything seemed to be normal. Nothing really out of the ordinary until he started to talk about or ask her about the Gilgo Beach murders, if she was familiar with the case. And she, of course, was. She lived there. And she told him that, that, yeah, of course she was familiar. She lived there. And he wanted to talk about it. And she said that it wasn't the way he necessarily that he was talking about the case. It was more the way he was talking about the case and how he was getting off on reliving it when he was describing things about the case. And it started to make her feel extremely uncomfortable. And he wanted her to go with him and get in his car and go somewhere. And she did not feel comfortable with that. She was like, there was no way that she was going with him. And to me, how frightening that is, because she would have been another victim, I firmly believe, had she gone with him. Hey, Smoking Tea, how are you? Good to see you. Wabash is in southern Indiana, southwestern Indiana, Shane. It's not super close to Delphi. No, you're fine. You're totally fine. So, he's due back in court on August the 1st, and he's looking at life in prison without the possibility of parole when or if he's convicted of these crimes. So, I don't believe New York has the death penalty, so that's why they wouldn't be looking at that for him. But it's frightening when we see these guys get caught and we realize that they were living kind of normal lives, and he was a professional, an architect who had this office in Manhattan, who was working with some really big name clients. But I think he was a narcissist. I mean, good Lord, if you watch that YouTuber's interview with him about the real estate that was done, I think, a year ago, man, is he really stroking his own ego. That's what I kind of got from that when I watched that YouTube video of him. I'm not going to show the pictures of his wife and his daughter. Sorry, guys. Out of respect for her. I don't think it's necessary. They're out there online if people want to see them. But they don't deserve what's going on. I feel so bad for this family. And oh, hey, Babs Forever. You're welcome. Thank you. I'm glad that you love the channel. I just like I said, I just feel bad. You've got these family members that their whole lives have just imploded, and then everybody wants to talk to them. Everybody is, they had to have known and all this, and they're kind of weird and strange people as well. And, it's so easy to put people through the ringer when you don't know anything about them. And I don't know. I just think we need to be a little less judgmental, I guess, when it comes to, obviously, the families in these cases. You guys know how I feel about that. And it's important. So the News and Reporter, a newspaper, has obtained a search warrant that was executed in relation to property that was owned in Chester County by the accused New York serial killer Rex Heuermann. The warrant listed the dark green 2002 Chevy Avalanche as a person, place, or thing to be searched. The truck was registered to Rex's brother Craig Heuermann of Rippling Brook Drive, Chester, and was subsequently removed from the property. The warrant states that the truck is believed to have contraband evidence or instrumental things regarding the charge of murder in the first degree in New York State, murder in the second degree in New York State, patronizing a person for prostitution in the third degree New York State, and conspiracy to commit said offenses. The vehicle, once obtained, was to be transported to the Suffolk County, New York area and searched forensically. Authorities began surveillance of the Rippling Brook Drive location at 10:50 p.m. on July 13th, shortly after Rex Heuermann was arrested in New York, and the warrant said authorities knew that the vehicle was present at this location, with state and federal authorities aiding the Chester County Sheriff's Office in taking custody of it. The truck is listed as having been taken into custody. Under property sought on the warrant, authorities put a lengthy list of items, many of which are listed as trophies, which are personal items that belong to murder victims. That was to include their phones, articles of clothing, any jewelry, identification, notebooks, ledgers, Bibles, personal effects, and or photographs or recordings depicting victims. Also sought were forensic and or trace evidence, including DNA obtainable through fingernails, toenails, animal hair or fur, human hair and human skin fibers, bodily fluids, as well as any latent fingerprints and palm prints. These things can be found on furniture, mattresses, carpets, rugs, flooring, animal cages, crates, litters, playpens, beds, towers, steps, or clothing. Electronic devices or computers in all their forms are listed on this search warrant, along with any records, whether they be physical or electronic in nature. Other property sought is any documents relating to the rent or recent occupation, renting, tenancy, purchasing of or known instrumentalities utilized in the designated offenses. This could include mail, bills, or other similarly situated documents. Broadly, the warrant also mentions any of the known instrumentalities involved in the commission of the designated offenses, including burlap, because the remains of at least one of Heuermann's alleged victims was wrapped in burlap, camouflage burlap fabric, jute-like fabric, hunting blinds, restraints, belts, textile yarns, polyester fibers, cotton fibers, or any variety of tape. Other trophy items are listed separately, including condoms, cut distal ends of black leather belts, devices utilized to stamp letters onto leather goods, knives, scissors, cutting implements, and Bounty paper towels, specifically from the Bounty Modern Print Collection. Firearms, magazines, cases, ammunition, bullet fragments, and shell casings were also listed, as were locked rooms, storage areas, vaults, cabinets, safes, closets, containers, including strong boxes, desks, drawers, suitcases, briefcases, boxes, hidden compartments, or other such enclosures where items can be kept hidden or secret. The warrant was signed on Friday. I mean, I think that tells us a lot, you guys, of what they're searching for. They took out the refrigerator and the freezer from the house. I just think that there's going to be more victims here. I feel for some reason that there's just more victims, whether it be in New York or in other places that he lived or other places where he was. We'll have to wait and see. I just can't imagine that these 3 or 4 victims are his only victims. So, yeah. Just incredible. Just crazy. But yeah. It's quite interesting. Yeah, I don't know why they had the medical examiner at a storage unit search unless they found human remains. So they've got a lot yet to do with him. They've got a lot to look for. There's a lot of places to search and look for evidence. So this is going to take a while. His case is not going to be something that is quick to come to trial for sure, because they've got a lot of stuff to lock down, and they are still utilizing the grand jury as far as I'm aware. So they will continue, I'm sure, to issue search warrants and so on of these other properties and places. But yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you guys tonight. And it's sad to think that, we've got these types of people in our midst, but they're out there, you guys, and they're neighbors. They're people that look just like you and me. They don't walk around as the monsters that some people think they are. So, good night, Rose. See you later. Thanks for being here. And I think that's the takeaway in all this, is that you just never know who your neighbor is, and you never know what's going on behind closed doors. And this guy lived a really strange life. He seemed to be a mess, and his house is a mess and a disarray, but yet he went to work every day in a 3-piece suit, basically. And I don't know, just wild. But I hope you guys all have a great evening. A great rest of your weekend. And I will see you guys all soon. I do not at this time know if I'm going to be live on Saturday or not. I have a couple of things that are coming up for Saturday, and depends on when they are scheduled for. So I will have to let you guys know. Always, you can find, if I'm not going to be live, I always will let you know in my community page on my channel. But I hope that you guys all have a great weekend. If you get a chance to do anything, please pay it forward and always be kind. It doesn't cost anything to be kind, you guys. And we never know what everyone else is going through around us. So being kind is easy. I will see you guys all later. Thank you so much for being here. For those who end up watching the replay, thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. For everyone who supports my channel, whether it be through PayPal, through Super Chat, Super Thanks, buy me a coffee, whatever. I so appreciate each and every one of you. And for all of you who are buying my merchandise, thank you so much. I certainly appreciate that as well. Have a great evening. Good night, everybody.